finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now.
All right, good morning again. I'm glad to have you guys here today. Before we start the message today, I'm going to invite Kim to come out. We've been mentioning in the last few weeks that there's an event coming up with Foster Arizona, and there's some really exciting things that are going on with Foster Arizona. Kim just got back from Washington, D.C., invited there to talk about fostering, what she's doing here in Arizona. So I thought rather than me mess it up and get it wrong, I'd invite her to talk about what is going on. So tell us what's going on with Foster Arizona, Kim. There you go.
You know, I think one of the big things that as we do to sing through worship, I think one of the things really important in our lives is we always trust God with more than what we can do. And right now that's really the stage that Foster Arizona is at. Not that we haven't always been there, but we really are trusting God for some pretty huge things. Earlier this year in March, we started housing for 10 kids. And currently we're under contract for a property that we are purchasing a acre of land. It's going to allow us to expand that to have 38 kids on site, as well as 2 RAs, to really be able to make a difference there. And we're also taking on a project called Foster Cooperative, which is really resourcing families of at-risk children, not just those that are fostering and adopting, but those that are for families, those that are renters, those that are currently living special outfits. We really want people that are working with kids that have adverse childhood experiences to have the resources they need so they can be empowered to actually positively impact their lives. And so the two of those projects together give me an idea of why it's such a huge mountain for us, is that they're taking on having to raise $2 million.
Now, those apartments are for kids aging out of the program, right? Okay.
So we have been able to see, we have right now we're in pilot, we've spent this first year in pilot to adjust our program to make sure we meet their needs, and we're seeing some really huge successes in the kids that are in our housing program right now. And we know that right now a lot of, especially in Mesa, there's a lack of housing for kids aging out of foster care. And so in our conversations with the youth, there are a lot, especially in young men, that have aged out of foster care and are in homeless shelters there. So we are hoping to be able to grow our housing program to meet that need, and not just to give them housing, because housing is important, but again, we're all about giving them wraparound services so that they are able to meet certain goals that they've put into place so that they leave our program at a better place.
Great. Well, thank you, Kim, for all you're doing, and appreciate the update. And again, there's an event coming up, Cultivating Hope, and so if you can get more information there in your bulletin as well. So thanks. All right. So again, a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, the Haiti team is in Haiti and getting their work done there. I heard from Abigail this morning, and she said it's all going very, very well, and she's glad that they're all there. Family Promise, again, another huge week there. A lot of great kids, a lot of fun kids. So again, there's a lot of stuff going on here, there, and everywhere. And you should be very proud of your Chaparral family and the work that's getting done. Speaking of that as well, Mike Bolar and I are going to meet in the North Room. Anybody who wants to talk more about what we're calling the Commons on Shea, this idea of doing even more for our community by utilizing our campus, leveraging every resource we have for ministry. And that includes the 11 plus acres we have here. How can that be used every day of the week? In fact, this week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I was here late, and there was like tons of Boy Scouts, Family Promise, CrossFit, just all people everywhere on campus. That's what we want all day, every day, is to be doing ministry with what we have and what we've been given here. Again, we're debt-free. So what can we do to take this resource and use it for the kingdom? Every day meeting people's needs. So we've information about that. You want to meet with us and ask questions after service in the North Room, we'll be there. Okay, we are getting close to the end of our series, Horrible Warnings. I hope these have been some good examples for you. I guess they're good examples from bad examples from the Bible. Last week we looked at a guy named Uzzah, and the story about a man that was simply protecting the ark. The ark was on his cart, and they were taking it to Jerusalem, and they're celebrating, and the cart wobbled, and Uzzah reached out to hold it straight, and it fell, almost fell, and he died because of it. And it's really a story about complacency, because they didn't take time to understand that God wanted it carried on poles, not on a cart, and no one said anything, and everyone thought that someone else would say something or someone else would do something. It's complacency, and sometimes we do that too. We get complacent. We think that someone else will talk to my friends. Someone else will reach out to my friends. Someone else will teach them. Someone else will connect with them. It's always somebody else, and really it's our job. And when we let our responsibility as Christians go by the wayside, it hurts. It hurts people, it hurts us, hurts the kingdom. And so we talked about complacency and making a difference in our world. Now, but like I just said, at Chaparral, we've done a really good job of not being complacent. Last week was a great example of that. A lot of cool stuff going on here, there, and everywhere. That's been great. But at the same time, when it comes to compassion and caring, you need to have balance. You can, in a sense, care too much. A little bit, maybe. In fact, there's a commercial that was made by IKEA in 2004, 14 years ago, that kind of gets this idea about how much we sometimes care. So take a look at the screens. Okay, how many of you felt bad for the little red lamp? Be honest. A little sad, poor lamp's on the curb. It's a lamp, people, right? I mean, that's what he says. It's like, you're crazy. It's a lamp. But sometimes we do that. We kind of make things more human than they are. Ever said, that stupid phone? Ever said that? That dumb computer, right? How about this? Ever said, oh, it's Siri's fault? Seriously? Did you know that the word Siri is Norwegian? It's a name for beautiful woman who leads you to victory. That's true. That's true. I looked it up. That's a true story. And look how you're treating Siri. Like it's her fault. You ever think that maybe it's operator error? Ever hear of an ID 10T error? Hear of it? Anybody heard of this? Look at it again. Yeah, you've heard of that error. Right? Sometimes we do that. We kind of like make things more feeling than they need to be. Now, that commercial was done over 10 years ago, and the whole point was it's okay to get a new lamp. Right? You can go to IKEA and get a new lamp. It's not going to hurt the old lamp's feelings. It doesn't have feelings. It's okay to upgrade. Now, the other side, though, the balance side of that is, why throw away something that's good, that still works? So this year, in 2018, IKEA made a new commercial, because now the other lamp is now, 14 years old? Take a look. 14 years apart, right? Like, and I thought, why would they do that? Well, and then again, I thought, well, the new lamp is now 14 years old and probably feeling like an old lamp. But the thing is that there's this kind of this balance, and it's kind of fun to talk about that kind of stuff. But here's the bottom line. Sometimes in our lives, we're excited for change. We want new things, right? We want new adventures. We want a new lamp. We want new things. Sometimes in life, maybe when we're the old lamp, we like nostalgia. We want to keep things the same. We want to find a new purpose for the old lamp. But the bottom line is, it's about belonging. Right? That's what we're talking about. Belonging. We want to belong. All of us in this room want to belong. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel needed. We don't want to be disposed of like an old lamp or kicked to the curb. We want to matter. Many, many years ago, when I was an engineer and back in Atlanta, I was VP of engineering at a little kind of supplier to GE and Lockheed called TIG Hitco. And when I got there, the company was kind of struggling. Within about a year, we were able to go from a phase-out supplier to a growth supplier at GE Aircraft Engines. We started a new product line, and we became profitable in 1 year. It was a good year. Well, that next year, I decided to go to seminary and leave that position. And I kind of felt like I'd be missed. I kind of felt like there'd be big shoes to fill when I left. Right? Have you ever felt like that? Like you left a job or something, you're like, oh, they're going to miss me, man. They can't live without me. It's, because this sense of wanting to belong and be needed. My last week of work, I came in on a Monday, and guess what I found outside my door, my office? 4 paint cans, a tarp, and paintbrushes. I wasn't even gone yet, and they're repainting my office. There's a sense of like, well, I guess they don't need me anymore. I'm the old red lamp on the curb already. And that hurts, right? I think all of us have this sense, this deep sense that we want to belong. The irony of that is that there's a danger in our need to belong, our need to be wanted, our need to be needed, is that we can ironically not listen to others who have the exact same need. We so want to be needed and to belong and to be wanted that we quit listening to those who have the exact same need we do. So instead of listening, we just want to be heard. Instead of listening to others, we just want to be heard. We want people to care about us, and we do very little to care about anybody else. That's a horrible warning for all of us. Because just as much as I need to be needed and you need to be needed and wanted and to belong to something, so does the person sitting right next to you. They need to be needed and wanted and to belong. So for today's story, we're going to stay in the period of King David. Now, we've kind of gotten settled with this guy a little bit, which has been kind of good. In this story, he's not king yet. It's in this middle period between David and Goliath and him being king. In this story, David is running for his life from the current king. The current king is named Saul. And Saul's been told by God that eventually he's out and David's in. And Saul doesn't want to be the red lamp on the curb. So he thinks if he gets rid of David, the new lamp, he can stay king. So he's chasing David down all over the place, trying to kill him. And David is hanging out in the wilderness of Paran. This kind of looks like this. Like Arizona, right? He's just living out in the wilderness, fighting for water and just fighting for life. And about 300 to 400 people, men, gather around him. He's his little army now. And Saul's not going to touch him. He's just kind of living out here in the wilderness with his little army. Our story is in 1 Samuel 25, and it begins like this. There was a man from Maon whose property was in Carmel. The man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail. The woman was clever and beautiful. The man was surly and mean. So I guess opposites do attract, right? She's clever, it says. She's wise. She's beautiful. Her name in Hebrew literally means my father, Avi, my father rejoices. Her husband is rich, But his name, Nabal, in Hebrew means fool or evil or mean or even vile. Now, I don't know what parent names their kid this. There's some weird names out there these days, but I doubt they named him this. Probably a play on words. I think he earned the name Nabal. So we get this beautiful, wise woman married to this evil, mean, surly guy. Well, David and his band of 400 men are in the wilderness running from King Saul, and at the time, the Nabal brings his sheep in to be sheared. It's like kind of like the harvest, like Thanksgiving. What do you do at Thanksgiving? Right? You bring in all the harvest. You have a big meal to celebrate because it's been a good year. Prepare for winter. Thank God for all He's given. Well, that's kind of going on in this story here. And so David sends a delegation to Nabal, and he says this: "Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have." And you've got a lot. "I hear that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did nothing to harm them, and they missed nothing. All the time they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore let my young men find favor in your sight, for we have come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have at hand to your servants and to your son David." What's going on? He says, "Hey, Nabal, we've been out here with you guys, and it's been a good year for you. You got all this wool, make some nice, itchy Christmas sweaters out of it. It's been a good year for you, got a lot of stuff. How about you share? Right? We've been out there with you. We've been watching over your flocks, protecting you, making sure nothing happens to you. So maybe, since you had such a great year, and it's Thanksgiving, maybe share a little bit with us, some hospitality." Now, is that unreasonable? No, not at all. I mean, if you think about it, it's fine. Because what could David have done? He has an army of 300 people, 400 people. He could have rushed down there and taken whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. He didn't do that. In fact, he did the opposite. He said, "I've been watching out for you guys. We didn't take anything, didn't do anything wrong. Just, we're trying to be good neighbors." What David's looking for is not just something to celebrate with his men. He's wanting Nabal to admit that he needed David, that David mattered. In a sense, is what he's doing. "Hey, would you share with me? Do I matter at all to you? Because I've come on this feast day." So Nabal should share. But then in verse 9, when David's young men came, they said to Nabal in the name of David, and then they waited. Awkward. Right? It doesn't say anything. He's kind of, yes, no. But then Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants today who are breaking away from their masters. Shall I take my bread and my water and the meat that I have butchered for my shears and give it to men who come from I don't know where?" That's some pretty familiar excuses, isn't it? Isn't it kind of familiar, those excuses? Like, why should I help you? Who are you? By the way, does he know who David is? Yeah, he knows who David is. Right? In fact, he calls him the son of Jesse. He knows who David is. What he's really saying is, David, you and your men do not matter to me. I don't need anything from you, so therefore you don't matter to me. Why should I give you my water? Why should I give you my stuff? Because you simply don't matter. And to be honest, sometimes we do the same thing with people. Sometimes. We look at people around us and kind of say to ourselves, who do we help? People that matter to us. Right? We help those who matter to us. Or people we need something from. If we need something from them, then we'll help them to get something back in return. And that's why they matter. We evaluate how much they matter to us and measure our response accordingly. We evaluate how much they matter and then we measure our response to that according to how much they matter to us. That's the way the world works. Always has been. Jesus said it like this in Matthew 5. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Do not even Gentiles do the same? Right? People do. That's what people do. They take care of their own. Those that matter to them is who they take care of. A few years probably know that the Boston Red Sox are in the World Series again this year, facing the evil Dodgers. Well, several years ago, Boston had a player named Wade Boggs. Heard of Wade Boggs before? Famous Boston Red Sox. Anyway, he used to have a real trouble playing at Yankee Stadium. Not because of the Yankees. He didn't have trouble with the Yankees or playing against the Yankees. But there's one fan that got under Wade Boggs' skin. Can you imagine that? Of all the fans that are there, thousands, one guy had the key to getting under Wade Boggs' skin. So one game he's warming up there, and this guy's out there yelling at him, saying stuff, you stink, blah, 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 going off. And Boggs just had enough. So he walks over to them and says, hey, fella, are you the guy that has been yelling at me this entire time? He's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? So Boggs reaches in his pocket, pulls out a new baseball, autographs it, and he gives it to this guy. The guy's like, now from that point on, that guy quit making fun of Wade Boggs. And in fact, he was Wade Boggs' biggest fan whenever he came to Yankee Stadium. Now here's the thing. Why did that happen? Why did that guy change his attitude toward Wade Boggs? Is it because that baseball was really worth a lot on eBay? No. Because that baseball showed that guy that he mattered to Wade Boggs. Think about it for a second. Even though he was insulting him, his insults were getting to Wade Boggs, which means that it mattered to Wade Boggs. And Wade Boggs reacted in a positive way, in a sense, showing this guy that he mattered. He mattered. And he turned it around. People want to feel needed and wanted, and that they belong. Well, Nabal basically tells David's young men that they don't matter. So in verse 9, so David's young men turned away and came back and told him all this. David said to his men, get out a baseball, sign it. No, he didn't say that. He said, every man strap on his sword. And every one of them strapped on his sword. David also strapped on his sword, and about 400 men went up after David, while 200 remained with the baggage. Another 600 men. 400 are going to battle. They're going to go and just wipe him out, right? Just take what they want, they can, and wipe him out. But one of the workers goes and tells Abigail the wise, right? Verse 14. This worker says to Abigail, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he shouted insults at them. Yet the men were very good to us, and we suffered no harm. We never missed anything when we were in the fields, as long as we were with them. They were a wall to us both night and by day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know this, and consider what you should do, for evil has been decided against our master and against all his house. He is so ill-natured that no one can speak to him. He's hard-headed, won't listen, doesn't care that David's army is going to come. And so they go and tell Abigail. And she then takes matters into her own hands, literally. Verse 18. Then Abigail hurried and took 200 loaves, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, 5 measures of parched grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs. That's a lot of food, isn't it? Now, at least 3 of those things, to me, have to be prepared. The bread, the sheep, and the figs, right? I mean, all those things have to be made. Loaves of bread, cakes, dressed sheep. There's a lot of work. How does she do that so fast, do you think? The Food Channel? Right? Cooking with Abigail? No, she probably had it done. My guess is, I'm reading into this a little bit, my guess is that she knows this is going to happen. She's wise, she's smart, she's working on this already. right? She's thinking ahead. She's not going to sit on her hands. She's proactive. So when things go bad, she can take care of her house. Verse 18, she loaded them on donkeys and said to her young men, "Go on ahead of me, I am coming after you." But she did not tell her husband. Why not? He doesn't get in the way. He's a fool. So just keep him in the dark, it'll mess things up. As she rode on the donkey and came down under cover of the mountain, David and his men came down toward her, and she met them, which, by the way, is pretty brave. She's wise, beautiful, and brave and courageous. I mean, here she gives her donkey, right, facing an army of 400 men who was mad. They're angry, and there she comes just by herself. It's pretty brave. Now, David had said this, "Surely it was in vain that I protected all this fellow and he has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that belonged to him. But he has returned me evil for good. God do so to David and more also, if by morning I leave as much as one male of all who belong to him." He's going to kill all the men. So Abigail is kind of safe, right, in a way, because she's not a man. So she could be like, okay, which, by the way, she could also do something else. She could be like, go ahead. Nabal's right over there, right? He's a fool. He's mean. Go ahead. He deserves it. But she doesn't. She sticks up for her family, for her household. When it doesn't really going to affect her, she does it for someone else. Sometimes we too can want to protect our own. If it matters to us, then it matters. For Abigail, her community matters, her family matters, her household matters. Actually, David matters too. Because she gives this beautiful speech. Now, typically, I would summarize the speech for you, but I think Abigail the Wise gives us some really good lessons for here about how it is we can make others belong, how others matter, and how we can show them that they matter. This is what she says to David. "Upon me alone, my Lord, be the guilt. Please let your servant speak in your ears and hear the words of your servant. My Lord, do not take seriously this ill-natured fellow Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Fool is his name. And folly is with him. But I, your servant, did not see the young men of my Lord whom you sent." What's the first thing she does? She's honest. No excuses, no lies, no cover-up, no passing the blame to somebody else, no trying to sugarcoat anything. She says, hey, I'll take the blame. I didn't hear what's going on. He's a fool. Here's the situation. She is honest. I think the first step to letting people know they matter to you is to be honest with them. To be honest. When we lie, make excuses, or cover things up, we show them that we matter more than they do. That our position or our status, our possessions, or our pride is more important than they are. Want to show someone they matter to you? Be honest. Personally, when people lie to me, it's hard. Because it shows me that I don't matter as much as whatever they're lying about matters. So be honest. She goes on, "Now then, my Lord, as the Lord lives, as you yourself live, since the Lord has restrained you from blood guilt and from taking vengeance with your own hand, now let your enemies and those who seek to do evil to my Lord be like Nabal." Right? Don't let him drag you down. She's saying, you know what? I care about you and your reputation. She's actually saying to him, look, don't be a fool like he is. "And now," she says, "let this present that your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the young men who follow my Lord. Please forgive the trespass of your servant, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord David a sure house, because my Lord is fighting the battles of the Lord, and evil shall not be found in you as long as you live. If anyone should rise up to pursue you and to seek your life, the life of my Lord shall be bound up in the bundle of living care under the care of the Lord your God." And get this, but the lives of your enemies he shall sling out as from the hollow of a sling. That's a weird metaphor, don't you think? So you're like, why would she bring up a sling, do you think? David and Goliath, remember that story? I mean, one thing she does here is she's saying, in a sense, I know you. I know your story. The David and Goliath story. It's a connection. So if one thing you can do to tell someone that they matter is be honest, to be truthful with them, the second thing you can do is know them. Get to know their story. She's saying to David, I know your story. I've paid attention. I've paid attention to you. Your successes, your struggles. Get to know people. If you want them to belong and to be wanted, listen to them. Then she goes on finally and says, when the Lord has done to my Lord, according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has appointed you prince over Israel, my Lord shall have no cause of grief or pangs of conscience for having shed blood without cause or for having saved himself. And when the Lord has dealt well with my Lord, then remember your servant. So she also knows he's going to be a future king. She knows that too. The third thing that goes to helping someone know they're wanted or needed is trust. Right? Be honest. Know their story. Care about them. Listen to them. And the third thing is trust them. She says to David, look, you need to trust God. I trust God. And now I'm going to trust you. When you come into your kingdom, King of Israel, I'm going to trust you to do the right thing. 3 things we can do. Pretty simple. All mentioned here by Abigail the wise. If you want someone to know that they matter to you, that they're wanted and they belong, be honest with them, know their story, and trust them. Paul said this in Romans 12. If it is possible, so far as it depends upon you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God. For as written, vengeance is mine, I shall repay. So you trust God to take care of that stuff. You take care of people. Let God take care of vengeance. Let God take care of revenge. Live peaceably with all. Let them know they matter. Well, David responds to Abigail and says this, blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you to me today. Blessed be your good sense. Blessed be you, who have kept me today from blood guilt and from avenging myself with my own hand. Blessed be your good sense. Blessed be you. And Abigail, by showing David that he matters, saves Nabal, from David anyway, saves her household, and saves her own life by simply showing David that he matters. I said earlier that very often is the case where we tend to only care about people that care about us or people that matter to us, matter to them. That we kind of have this sense that if we need something from them, then they matter to us. And I quoted you this verse from Matthew. If you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? And I said, that's how the world works. In Jesus' day and today, we get this. But that's not how this text ends. Jesus says this in the very next verse. Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. He says, you are not going to operate the way the world works. You're not going to return good for only those who do you good. You're not going to only care about those who care about you. Those who matter to you will not be just those that you matter to. It's going to be different. Be perfect, he says. And that word perfect there in Greek is the word tamim, and it means to be holy or complete. And it's this idea that we treat others the way God treats us. We matter to God. Even when we didn't deserve it, we matter to God. And others matter to us the same way. So we need to be honest with people. That's who we are. We need to get to know their story. God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth. Take the hint. Listen to their stories. And trust. Trust God. and begin to trust other people too, so that they belong. There's a story in Brooklyn, New York, about a school that was for learning disabled children, and they had a fundraiser, and a father of a little boy named Shay was giving a speech, and he said this: "Where is the perfection in my son, Shay? Everything God does is done with perfection. But my child cannot understand things as other children do. Where is God's perfection?" And the crowd kind of was like quiet, like you are now. Like, what is he talking about? Then he told a story about his son walking with his dad, and there's kids playing a baseball game. And Shay wants to play. His dad's like, "Oh my gosh, if he goes there, he can't play. He's not very good. He won't be able to do anything, and they're going to make fun of him." But he says, "You know what? I've got to let him feel like he belongs. Let him try." So he goes to the kids, and they say, "Yeah, sure, he can play." He said, "We're down by 5 runs. It's the 8th inning. Sure, we're going to lose anyway. No problem." Well, he gets his hat on, and that kind of stuff in the dugout. And, 8th inning goes by, and they get 2 runs. Now they're on down by 3. 9th inning comes along, they get 2 more runs, and bases loaded. And guess who's coming to bat? Shay. And his dad's thinking, well, they're going to not put him in because they can win the game now. It's a good chance they're going to win. But the kids instead put Shay in. And they show him how to hold the bat. It's kind of, wobbling around there. He's trying to hold it up. And the pitcher sees this and comes in real close and kind of lobs one at Shay. And he swings and totally misses the ball, completely misses the ball. So he comes a little closer. They kind of give some pointers. And he lobs it again. And Shay hits the ball kind of right over the pitcher's head, just onto the ground. The pitcher picks it up. Now, he could have threw him out at first base, and he airmails it over first baseman. And Shay keeps on running. He's like, "Come on, Shay, keep running." The outfielder gets it and then throws it clean over the second baseman's head. Shay keeps running. They keep, come on, Shay. He rounds third, comes home, slides in, grand slam. And they win the game. And 18 players carry Shay away on their shoulders. And then his dad said this: that day, those 18 boys reached their level of God's perfection. That's what it's about. Belonging. Who in our lives needs to belong? Who in our lives needs to be wanted and needed? That's who we're called to. That is our level of God's perfection. Let's pray together.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true.